flip on the book of face. Yeah, I know where to go. There's a man over there into the music scene, showing lots of love for the community with great advice. I know who I should go see. So around town radio show, that's where I go for the latest band info. So around town radio show for the music.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a nooner here at All Around Town Radio. It's our Wednesday with the Band segment. We're going to bring into the program today a good friend. We've known this guy for a long time and watched him play music out there from almost the very start, I think it is. But help me welcome to the show today, Mr. Heath Bowling. How are you, Heath? What's going on, man?
Brother. Doing good, man. How are you?
Hey, it's great to have you here. It's been a long time since we've had you on the show, and good to have you back and talk about some fun stuff you've got going on. We're going to take a little peek into what we call an insider's view into our local music scene here. And Heath's been playing out a bunch. He plays, you're all over the tri-state, man. You're not just pigeonholed into one little location. You're playing everywhere, aren't you?
Yeah, north, south, east, west, other states, everywhere in between.
Yeah, I see those shows like in Indiana and, you're in Kentucky and doing all that. That's cool to see. And today we're going to bring a little behind the scenes view of Heath and mixing a bit about his musical career and also talk about him being now what we're calling a singer-songwriter and putting out a new album. And we're going to chat about that. The album's called Crazy Dream. And with that said, Mr. Bowling, let's chat a little bit about your history and how did you get started playing music out in front of an audience?
It started a long time ago, nothing really severe, like probably 1990, I want to say 99, late 98. I was in a band that we did a lot of covers of Sublime, so we were pretty much just a Sublime cover band. That was during college, but outside of that, like full blown, it's been, I think, since 2000 and I want to say 18 now, since me and you hooked up at the old Get the Gig thing. It's when my buddy Eric told me to get into it.
That's way back. That is way back. And yeah, that was a fun little thing that we pulled off there and had a chance to meet a lot of people. I had a chance to meet so many people who are still playing in the music business. And, we're going to chat about some folks that helped you collaborate on this thing.
Right.
But let me talk about this. You play a variety of places. So I've seen you play, and we've joked about it. I've seen you play in rooms that, it's the same 5 people every week. Or I've seen you play in rooms that are just full of passionate music people who love your music and all that. It's a grind, isn't it, to be out there doing this? I know you've worked really hard at getting to where you are today.
Yeah, it depends on the night. And honestly, the day that your show is, sometimes you'll play on, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and you pretty much, you take those as they come, you know what I mean? You can't expect to walk in on a Tuesday to a bar and expect it to be completely packed when you're playing 7 to 10 or 8 to 11. But then there's also other, venues and stuff that have really good Wednesday followings, like the Milanos and the O'Learys, neighborhood bars or restaurants that people go to, every week. And, but, it's something that over time I've gotten over. But when you first start out, it can be very disheartening, the Tuesdays and Wednesday shows, when you you show up, like you said, and play to the same 5 people. But the thing that you always have to look in the back of your head is obviously either the owner or those said 5 or 6 people like what they hear from you, because if not, then they wouldn't have you back, and they wouldn't mind taking the chance of wasting the money or making the profit on a rare Tuesday or Wednesday night, having you play music in their venue or restaurant.
Well, I always look at it as, what else would be there on a Tuesday? If you're not playing music and some people are coming in, there wouldn't be anybody there. And so,
nothing,
that's-
besides, your typical that you see in other places, like you probably have success doing Tuesday, trivia and stuff like that. Usually Tuesdays, as we all know, in at least our area, are trivia nights, karaoke nights, DJ nights, something off the beaten path to try to make either new people come in or people to just come in and not have to worry about someone, like me or another local artist screaming at them for the hour and a half. They just want to sit down and eat dinner.
Oh, yeah. I got to say hi to some folks here. Kevin Cooper, thank you. Jimmy Kilroy for being with us today. John Dale from the Gamut is in the house. Brian Gilliam from the Michelle Robinson Band, thank you. Hi, Roger. Hi, Peter. Mike Coons is here, one of the best sound engineers in the whole region. Thanks for being with us, Mike. Heath, you started playing, and I know you've transformed some since I first watched you play, because we used to joke about the Tear in Your Beer country songs. And you've really transformed and grown in your music selection that's appealing to not just country fans, but appealing to a lot of other folks out there who may be product of the 90s. I've heard a lot of 90s music out of you. Who are your major musical influences? And, why do you select the songs that you play when you play out?
So, I mean, when I first started out, I was doing, I think it was just the association of the crowd or the people that I was hanging out with at the time, and still, hang out with this to this day. And then also artists that I became friends with that were on a low scale, and now I've kind of eclipsed into a bigger scale. So when I first started out, it was Americana artists that you hadn't heard of, that were my friends, that I was just trying to make people listen to and go check them out to help them out. And the outlaw country, that I was raised on by my grandparents. Not saying that I wasn't raised by my parents, but as far as being at my grandparents' house, the George Jones, the Whalens, the Tammy Wynette, stuff like that. And then, growing up in my house, my mom, and it was just all over the map, Beatles to 90s country to rock and roll. And then I had a sister that was 6 years older than me that was into, Megadeth and Metallica and Testament and Slayer and stuff like that. So, but going back to when I first started, it was, like you said, Tear in Your Beer, country music, but as I learned playing out more and seeing a lot of my friends play out, the bars still want to hear 90s music, which I thought would never, I grew up in that era. That's my forte, grunge, alternative 90s rock. And I didn't think anybody still wanted to hear that music until I started playing out. And then all of a sudden I find everyone still wants to hear that music.
I find that to be hugely popular today. I mean, compared to what it was, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, it was the 80s. And now those folks are staying home pretty much.
Right.
And you've got the folks that are out there that enjoyed the 90s, like you said, and grew up on that. And I was in a club working. I had my own club at that time, and it was dance music. So I didn't get exposed as much to that. And I've learned to love it. But that 90s grunge style and the,
Right.
The STPs and the people like that a lot of people admired and loved. So I'm finding it to be a new thing for me and getting a chance to hear that. And there's so many bands out there doing it now and musicians. But is there one particular famous musician that you admire that you kind of, I don't want to say emulate or anything, but somebody that really stands out to you that you can learn from?
I mean, as far as if you're talking up to date, who I like to listen to, I like to listen to a lot of Ben Harper, Jack Johnson. Trying to think, Noah Kane. I've been listening to a lot of him. I think that's how you say his name, the country guy that sings Sixth Season. And then as far as growing up and people that I admire, my top three are always going to be, Elton John's definitely there. And then also Chris Cornell, just like the Moss with Soundgarden, solo, whatever the dude sings, he's amazing. And then probably my number one, and I know it sounds cliche, but it's either you can pick any Beatle member besides Ringo, I'm cool. And
Besides Ringo.
Right,
I love it.
besides Ringo, and then Bob Dylan's really been, and not Bob Dylan for his singing, obviously, just his songwriting and his way of making music out of current or past events that have happened in either the country or the world or whatnot. I just think he's a great storyteller. And then, yeah, and Towns Van Zandt, people like that are old school.
I totally
just
agree.
Like the storytellers.
The Bob Dylan thing, what a great storyteller and singer songwriter and that. But you know, I saw a little clip the other day. Somebody was doing an interview and they said if Bob Dylan would have tried out for The Voice, he wouldn't have even made the producer's cut to get on the show. But yet here's a guy who has written some of the most iconic songs that we've ever heard. And so it's, you know, it's a personal preference thing. And you've stepped out of your comfort zone now several times. I've seen you play with bands, do different things. But this new album, you had a little EP that was out when I first met you that you made available to people. But this is a serious undertaking, what you've done here to do an album. And let's get right to that. Let's talk about Crazy Dream. So obviously you write your own songs. How would you describe what your songs are about, Heath?
Wow, it's really weird because this album is like, I've been telling people it's very bipolar. You know, there's a couple songs that I wrote for a couple different venues. Like there's a song in there called In a Honky Tonk. I wrote that song about Misery and Jen's, a little honky tonk bar out in Hamilton, Ohio. There's other songs like The Ballad of the Groves Franklin Tavern. I wrote that about a little bar that you know about, Scott, that's no longer in existence.
Boy, that was fun.
That's the first song on the album, and you know, that song was just the owner at the time, Jason, saying, "It'd really be nice if you could write a song about this place. It'd really be nice if you write a song about this place."
Oh, I think you froze up on me, Heath.
I went home and
there you go.
I pre-wrote that song, but the other stuff is like, you know, there's probably half the album's about just general life stuff that you go through in your personal life, and as other musicians are listening or watching this, they understand what I mean. You got your music life, and then you have your personal life, and sometimes your music life will flow over into your personal life, which causes some stress at times. And then the only way that I know how to deal with stress, because I don't really get stressed out about anything, is I just grab a pen and a paper and try to write, I guess you'd say, write my feelings out. And sometimes that turns into something good. Sometimes it turns into stuff you wad up and throw in the trash can. But that, and then honestly, there's probably about 3 songs on the album that I just wrote songs. There was no story behind them. There was nothing. Like I once heard a lady that came into a store and they called her name out, and her name was Josephine, and I thought, wow, that's such a pretty old cool name. I like that. That reminds me of like my mammal's family. And so I wrote a song called Sweet Josephine. It has no frame of reference. I've never met a Josephine in my life besides the band the Josephines. And I just wrote a song. So like that's pretty much what it is.
I want to circle back then, because you said, you know, sometimes your musical life comes into your personal life. It could cause problems and things. But you also, and what I see more often than anything on songwriters is their personal life gets told by storytelling through their music. And you take personal life experiences and enter them into a song. Is that something that you find that's easier to do, or is it easier just to write, like you said, just pull a song out of the air and just say, I'm going to write this thing?
So I find that I've never really had like a collaboration with other songwriters or other artists. We've talked, many of us in the past, about, you know, getting in a circle of 5 or 6 deep and, you know, spitting a line out, somebody, you know, connect to that like a big chain. It's never happened though. But as far as like, yes, very much so, that you can write easier a song in my mind by something that happened to you. Now making it up, you know, you can just pretty much paint your own story, which I think is kind of cool too. But as far as, yeah, real life situations, in my opinion and in my songwriting, bring out better songs than making ones up. But the sad part on the ones that you make out of stories, usually the person you wrote it about knows you wrote it about them, because you'll put some kind of line in there or some kind of, you know, saying in the song, and they're like, okay, you wrote this about me. It was like sitting down with Amanda, listening to the album. She's like, that song's about me. That song's about us. That song's about me. So
Right.
there is good and bad when you write songs about your personal life, if you're trying to be
You know,
creative about it.
Taylor Swift's made millions writing about her ex-boyfriend. So, you know,
Hey, and like I
and,
said,
you know,
if she was a man, no one would bat an eye. True
yeah.
story.
Amen. And, you know, that's just a perfect example right there is somebody who pours their feelings out into songs, and it works. Right. And it works for a lot of people. So when you write a song, does it take you a while? Is it a long process, or are you one of those guys like I had John Wade on the show one day and he says, oh, I wrote Missing You in like 30 seconds.
So,
you know,
probably, if I had to guesstimate, probably like, there's only like 2 or 3 songs on my album that I probably wrote in less than 10 minutes. The rest of them, add lines here and there. I'm also one of those people where if I hear like a cool hook or a cool line, whether it be in a bar or restaurant, whatever, or someone just in passing you're talking to, you know, somebody always says, living the dream or another day in paradise, you know, stupid lines like that. When I hear somebody say something that's not cliche and everyone says, I'll pull out my notepad and on my phone and type those lines in. And then next thing you know, I've got a notepad of like 70 lines of words. Then I can go back and kind of, you know, like I kind of on a piece of paper instead of a dry erase board, I'll put this line there, and then I'll try to connect them and see which ones will flow good in this song. And then, you know, and it happens all the time. Like I just went down and seen Bush and Candlebox and Jerry Cantrell the other day. We're driving to Cincinnati. I'm in deadlock traffic, and 2 lines came to my head. And what am I doing? Driving down the road with a GPS with Amanda yelling at me in the passenger seat, typing in these 2 sentences into my notepad so I don't forget them. So
that's interesting.
It comes and goes.
Do you ever find yourself saying, okay, I've revised this song enough? I hear people that like they second guess their lyrics and all that and just keep changing to where the song never gets done. Do you ever have to draw the line and just say, look, it's done. Let's just, you know, print it. It's done.
Sometimes I do, but most of the times what I find is when after I've written the song and then I go to the microphone and sing it for recording, there might be a verbiage or maybe too many words. So I'll cut those out. But outside of that, I don't know, I guess put a lot of thought or anything into changing a lot of things. I don't try to overdo it. You know, I kind of guess go by the old rule of thumb, keep it simple, stupid. So I just kind of keep it, you know, I keep it vanilla until I don't have to keep it vanilla. And then I'll do some changes and stuff like that. Just like when I recorded the album, you know, I looked at Steve and I was like, hey man, if I can't get it in 3 takes, then it doesn't need to be on the album. I go by the Beatles rule of thumb. Like if it takes you more than 3 takes, then it shouldn't be on your album.
Good advice. All right. Well, let's talk about Crazy Dream. You just dropped this single. And can you give me a little backgrounder to this before we let the folks out there hear a little snippet of it?
Yeah, so pretty much when I wasn't, it's like during COVID, I think, right after COVID. But you know, I was sitting down, I wrote this song, and you know, I don't know if any other songwriters out there do. I do it because I hold Shane DeMoss very high in my standards. I hold Benny Bodine very high in my standards. Nick Wheeler, people like that. And I'll write a song and, you know, I'll send it to one of the 3 or all 3. And I'll be like, you know, what do you think? And when I wrote this song, it's basically a story of being with somebody for a long time and maybe it's just not the right fit. Even though it's taken you a lot of years to figure it out, but maybe it's just not the right fit. So, you know, you had this crazy dream that things were going to be sunshine and rainbows, white picket fence and all that, and it didn't work out. And I wrote that song and I sent it to Shane, and Shane texted me back and said, "Man, I want to get in on this." And I said, "Okay." And so I sent the lyrics over to Shane. Shane changed, I want to say, like maybe 2 or 3 words in the lyrics, one of the chords in the song. And I asked him if he would, bless this album, because, like I said, I hold him in high standards, to sing the choruses of the song. And he, like I said, gladly he accepted. And I'd send him a recording of mine, he'd send me a recording of his, and that all folded. And then I went to do the album, and got him over there to do the choruses. I mean, I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. I'm assuming he is too, because he hasn't said anything. Because trust me, he's the first person, if it's not up to his standards or liking, he would tell me. And that's pretty much where we went with this song. This is also a song it's totally not a story. I mean, it is a story, I'm sorry, but it's not a story from my life or his life. It's just totally a scenario thought up in my crazy head and made a song.
So collaborating on this piece with you is Shane DeMoss, who's doing the choruses, and then you have someone playing a lot of the instrumental parts here.
So
who's that?
Somebody that's really, I feel, is very talented and very underrated, just because he's still a kid, is a kid named Grayson Zellick. If you go to open mics and stuff like that, him and his dad, Steve, who produced the album, they'll do open mics, do songs together. They've now got his little brother Loudon involved playing a cajon and stuff, so they're doing a little 3-piece now. But Grayson pretty much, besides, I want to say 4 tracks, he's on every track. But I'm saying, as far as heavy duty of the work on the instruments, besides about 3 tracks, Grayson is playing the bass for me, the leads, the drum. He's also, I think, I can't remember, I think in one of the songs we might have had a little bit of a slide guitar in that. He does that too. But yeah, man, he's been a blessing. I love that kid. He's great. If you guys ever have a chance, I don't want to self-promote or anything, but go check him out. He's on Spotify. He's got a cool album. But you can't go into it thinking that it's a grown man at 30 years old writing an album. You got to go into it. This is a 17-year-old kid. So a 17-year-old kid hasn't dealt with life experiences and bills and heartbreak and all that yet. So it's very juvenile.
but it's coming.
But it's coming.
It is.
Coming. Yeah.
And that there will inspire more music out of him, I'm sure. Let's Heath, let's take a minute and let everybody take a listen here. Now, we know a lot of you are going to be watching after we're live today. So please, if you have a comment or a question for Heath, he'll have this on his page. I'll have it on mine. Please drop it in there. And if you have any questions about how he put this together, or just want to pick the lyrics apart and ask him something about it, please feel free to do that. Let's take a little listen here. This is the one you dropped, a couple days ago. And we're going to hit it up right now. And this is called Crazy Dream. And this is Heath Bowling, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a peek at it right now.
What do I have to do to get right through you? It always seems the same. Get mad and run away, chase after you each day, and my soul's born from the ground. Just the way to win this fight. The board did unless you try. Running in circles, crazy dream. We're not meant to be. We're not meant for crazy dream.
All right, there you've got a little taste of the song Crazy Dreams. And Heath, tell our viewers where they can get their own copy of that and hear it in its entirety, if you will.
Well, right now, that single's on all streaming platforms. I can't remember all of them, but the major ones: Apple, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube. The full album actually drops tomorrow. So the full album will be available on all streaming platforms. Some are slower than others. I remember when I released the single, for the day it was supposed to be released, it was on YouTube, Pandora, and all that. But it was the next day that it was on Spotify and Apple Music. But you can find it there. And then I want to say probably within the next 7 to 10 days, I'll have the hard copies of CDs for anybody that is old school like me and still has a CD player in their car.
All right. So, folks, if you're just joining the program and you've jumped on here with us, we're talking with Heath Bowling about his music influences and style. And we're going to take just a few minutes here after we've listened to that one and talk about kind of where this, how this project was completed, and of course, who assisted with it. We mentioned there a few minutes ago, you heard the incredible vocals of Mr. Shane DeMoss in there on the choruses as well. So, Heath, it's got to be interesting. This one was recorded, you said, by Steven Zellick, but what's the studio name there?
We're just calling it Castle Creek Studios. It's over in Centerville. It's basically just, it's like a house. It's like a house studio.
Gotcha. And I want to ask, how is playing live and then doing something like this connected? How does that connect? Because the live show is so much different than going into the studio and trying to produce something that's going to be forever imprinted on your social platforms and so on. So what's the difference for you?
Well, the golden rule is you can mess up in a live performance. You can't mess up, in a live performance. You can mess up in the studio and then say, rewind it, let's do it again. But, you know, this is my first time like doing the whole like recording thing of like having the actual fancy microphones and equipment and all that stuff. And, you know, I couldn't be blessed more than what I was. I mean, Steve took care of me a lot. Like I said, Grayson, a lot of help with me. You know, Shane with that song, unfortunately, that's the only song me and Shane did on the album. I also had a lot of help from Nick Wheeler on bass on a couple songs. I had help with Benny Bodine on a couple songs too as well. Also Adam Montgomery. Adam Montgomery came in, did some still shots and some videos and stuff of recording the album. You know, at some point in the future, we'll dive in on that, maybe with some kind of video or something like that. I haven't really put a lot of thought into that. I'm just kind of going, like I said, keeping it vanilla and keeping it pretty simple until I don't have to keep it simple, I guess you could say.
So was this a huge undertaking for you? Uh-oh, we lost Heath. We did. Somehow we've lost him. Let's see if he comes back here. We'll see. So, guys, while I've got you on the program today, this is Wednesday with the Band featuring Heath Bowling. We're talking about his new album, which is dropping tomorrow, called Crazy Dream, and the single, which dropped a week ago, called Crazy Dream. And you heard a little piece of it there, and I'm trying to see if Heath comes back into the fold here. If he does, we'll get him on. Hopefully his phone didn't die of a battery slow death, which happens sometimes when you're streaming. Let me get to a couple other things while I got you on here, and we'll see if Heath joins us back. If not, we're going to cut out of here and be done for the day. But we will be here tomorrow at 5:00 with Who's Playing Out.
Sorry, I don't know what just happened. You hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now, man. You just went away for a minute, but you're back, and that's good. We got you.
Can you hear me at
You
all?
can hear me? Can you hear me? I got you.
I can't hear you. Hold on.
We're having a glitch in the matrix here, but let me say what we were saying here at 5:00 tomorrow. Who's Playing Out? Brought to you by our friends at Heather's. It's the best musicians in the tri-state and venues, and where they're playing for the week. So we'd love to see you join us on that show.
Now,
that's an important one for us because it does what our slogan is, and that's supporting live local music. Are you hearing me, Heath?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I don't know. He's gone. So We'll continue here for just a minute. I was going to ask him what advice he would have for someone wanting to follow in his footsteps and try to make an original release here like that. And we'll see if he comes back in. And then also want to let you know, if you did not watch yesterday's show called Hot Topic Tuesday, give it a look-see. It was one of our craziest ones ever. Karis and I enjoyed that one on Tuesdays very much. And if you missed it, you missed a good one. How about now, Heath? Are you hearing me?
I can hear you now. I don't know what happened.
Hey, we're back. Well, let me finish up here because I was going to ask you what advice you would have for somebody who wants to put their thoughts down in music and actually make an album like you have. Do you have any advice for them?
I can tell you that if you've got songs written down and you've wrote the songs, you need to record them. I found out that it's really not that expensive to do. When I went into doing this, I thought it was going to be thousands upon thousands of dollars, and it's really not. As long as you can, link up with the right people that can take care of you, can do what you want to do as far as your vision, then you're fine. But if you've got stuff written on paper and you've got chords to it, reach out to a sister or brother, whatever you want to call them in the music business. If you don't have somebody who plays bass or drums or something like that, reach out to them. 90% of the time, they're going to be more than willing to help you. And I found that out. Like I said, I've been blessed, and I've had a lot of people that, wanted to help me on this. And like I said, it's been a good experience for my first time.
Perfect. Well, let's tell everybody how they can connect with you in the social media world besides the streaming platforms where Crazy Dream dropped. Certainly, how can they connect with you on social media?
You can connect with me through about pretty much, I guess everything. I'm really not a Twitter guy or X, whatever you want to call it, but I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. Obviously, as you know, I'm on Spotify, YouTube, stuff like that now, but that's the best way to connect with me.
Perfect. Facebook, Instagram at Heath Bowling Music, ladies and gents, if you want to find him there. And Heath, I want to thank you for sharing your story and us getting a chance to kind of sneak peek this song here. I have a final question I always ask everybody I interview, and we're going to throw it at you here. It's a bucket list question. If you could play on the stage with any artist, past or present, who would it be?
Wow, good question.
I get that a lot.
Probably alive or dead, you said.
Yeah, it's anybody, man.
I would probably say toss up Merle Haggard or alive Ben Harper.
There you go.
So
and that's what we're going to end with.
Two different sides of the spectrum.
Anything else you want to share with the audience out there before we let you go today?
Nah, man, other than I hope you guys like it. I hope you like the album. Like Scott said, if comments, questions, concerns, shoot them in the comment box. Be more than happy to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on it.
Absolutely.
That, I appreciate you having me on the show. I think I have the award for most appearances on the All Around Town radio show. I think
think so,
Demas
man.
has got me beat, but either way, I'm in good company.
It's been a minute, too, since we've had you on here, so it's good to have you back. And, you're out there playing a lot. You play with some other projects, the Beauty and the Beast thing you do with Tessa Marie. And, I enjoy seeing you play. I've happened to just stumble into places at times where you're playing. I didn't even know you were there. So it's always good to run into you, Heath. And, those that I talk to that come see your shows routinely, they love you and they really enjoy what you do. And I think they're going to love this album. I think it's something that's been a long time coming for you. You've wanted to do this since we talked back in the Get the Gig days.
Right.
And now you've pulled it off. It may have taken 5 or 6 years, but you got it done, man. I'm glad to see it.
Right.
I appreciate you.
I'm honestly glad it's done, to be real.
Oh, I bet. Thanks for joining us today, Heath. It's been a pleasure.
All right, brother. Be safe, man.
All right. We're going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We hope to see you tomorrow right here at All Around Town Radio for Who's Playing Out, the best musicians and venues in the tri-state. Until then, get out and support live local music and the bands and venues that bring it to you, everybody. Goodbye for now.
flip on the book of face. Yeah, I know where to go. There's a man over there into the music scene, showing lots of love for the community with great advice.